This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 69.
If you're losing a trade and it's not going in your way, don't do what I do and wait for it to bounce. Just get out, cut your losses, and find a different entry point.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host.
He refuses to buy food at the airport or movie theater. Cheapskate.
Clay Trader.
Now, I think I blame my parents for this, but not in a bad way, because I do appreciate it now, and I guess I am a cheapskate. But yeah, as far as airport food, movie theater food, it's not going to happen. I will not spend money on it. And when we do Clay Trader meetups, I'm trying to think. Chez has been in the airports. You know, Chez and IT Nate, the producer, you know, they're parts of the company, so, you know, their expenses are paid for in terms of food and stuff like that. But they know the policy that if we're at the airport, they're pulling out their own credit card. They're paying for it. That is not going to be part of the company budget, and especially IT Nate, because Chez is in California. IT Nate, we're right here in Michigan, so he travels with me from the start to the finish. And his favorite thing is, you know, let's go buy some stuff as soon as we get to the airport, just because he knows it drives me up the wall. But he knows that he's more than welcome to buy food, but it ain't coming out of the company budget. Same with the movie theater. Once in a while, IT Nate and Chez would be invited too. If you live locally, but sometimes we'll take a company movie day and go watch something, and we're not buying any concessions. If you want food, you better be sneaking it in your pockets or pants or certain cavities in your body, but I'm not buying any sort of food at the movie theater. What a ripoff, and I'm just a cheapskate. Chez, I'm already getting upset here.
I'll take it away from you before you get too mad and start smashing.
What is your policy on this? Do you buy stuff at movie theaters and airports, or...
So for the airport specifically, if I'm like starving or I have, you know, especially when we traveled all the way to the East Coast to Baltimore for the trip, you know, for me that was like almost a 13, 14-hour thing. And granted, yes, I've gone plenty longer without eating, but I will actually usually shell out on a beer or something light to eat. But kind of like you, when I go travel with Kelly, my fiance, she wants to get like a sandwich and stuff to take on the plane and buy water bottles. And I'm like, come on, man, this is literally 3 times the cost of what it would normally be. But the story that sticks out to me the most is when we went to the Chicago meetup and Gator wanted ranch extra.
I should actually go ahead. I'm going to use this for a fun fact later, because I never thought about. Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah, Clay went nuts because it was like an extra $1 or something for a big side of ranch or something, and Clay was going, you know, you go to the Walgreens across the street and buy a whole bottle of that for like $1.75 or something. And I'll just never forget it. But that's just Clay, and hey, man. It's those little things like that a lot of people neglect, and that's where they're just hemorrhaging money for no reason at all. So I totally respect it.
Hey, Gator, how do you feel about that? Chez just said you're hemorrhaging money. He didn't really say it, but you can't fight back right now, so I hope Gator listens to this intro. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do this as a fun fact. He once yelled at a member for buying ranch, something like that. So that's funny you brought that up. But anyways, I'm a cheapskate. Chez is a partial cheapskate, and it is what it is. So let's get into today's interview. Today we are talking with Tim. He goes by the same name in the chat room. He's from Boston, although as we quickly address here, you'll see I'm a little disappointed with this whole Boston thing. But anyways, a great interview. In fact, he shares something with us that he did very recently, and it proves a great point about just how it just takes one. And I'm going to leave it at that. But it was very recent. And like I said, Chez and I, we both gave him props. Like, hey, man, thanks for at least fessing up to that, because thanks for keeping it real. That's the whole point of this. But it provides a valuable learning opportunity for you listeners, for Chez and I both, as a friendly reminder, hey, it just takes one. So I don't want to get anything more into it other than that. But great interview, thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. And Tim's a great guy. He was totally transparent, open with things. And, we both appreciated it. So without further ado, let's start talking with our Boston friend, Tim. Well, hey, Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm already a little bit bitter at Tim. Before he logged onto the call, I was telling Chez, oh, man, I really hope this guy has a Boston accent, because in the room, it says Boston. So I'm thinking, oh, yes, Boston accents are the greatest. and then he sounds totally normal. So
Yeah, sorry to let you down.
yeah, but I did learn something. I did not realize that you literally basically have to be in Boston and grow up in Boston in order to kind of acquire that accent. So,
Yeah.
and you said you grew up, what did you say, 45 minutes outside of
45
Boston?
minutes, yeah, about, yep.
All right. So now are you a big like Patriots fan and all that sort of stuff?
Bigger Patriots fan, yep. Red Sox, I watch them occasionally, go to a lot of games during the summer, but yeah.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts right now on Tom Brady? I mean, we
I think
won't
that
even
was
go. We won't even
yeah.
go into that. I guess this is not a sports talk show. This is a stock trading show. So, anyways, I just had to kind of vent right there because I really wanted that. Can you do like a fake Boston accent the rest of the show?
Honestly, I would try, but it'd probably be like one of your accents when you try.
Okay, I
Those are
see.
pretty bad.
Wow! I didn't know that Ches and Tim were going to team up. I see how. Well played. This is good. Somebody that's giving it right back to me. Excellent. Well, Tim, again, thank you for hanging out and for deciding to let us kind of interview you here and pick your brain. But let's start at the very beginning. How'd you hear about the market? What got you interested enough to want to make you put some of your hard-earned money on the line?
So I kind of have two first interactions, I guess, with the market. The first one being when I was 18 or so about like 10 years, I saw the E-Trade baby commercial.
E-Trade baby.
Some Super Bowl advertisement. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll put $500 in here and just browse around and see where it takes me. So I think at that time I put like, I don't know, some in JetBlue. I don't even know where I got these stocks that I picked from. One was a uranium company that I kind of bought into it and then went around telling all my friends this is the next big thing, checking their website. But yeah, for JetBlue, I actually made like $4 profit. I was pretty excited about. And after the $20 commission buy and sell, and I was telling like my family, I'm like, yeah, I made $4 off of JetBlue. And then I told my uncle, and he was like, well, you got to be careful with that. You got to have to pay, taxes on $4. So that kind of scared me off. So I was like, oh Jesus. So maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So I kind of got out of that. I let my uranium stock just chill in there for a while. After 2 years, I like reopened E-Trade, realized it was delisted. So I'm like, great. So I kind of stopped that altogether. And then about, my second interaction, I guess you would say, was about a year ago. I was on my phone. I like browsing through the App Store. I'm very like tech savvy. Came across a couple if you link up your bank account, it will deduct how many, save the change, and then it will automatically reinvest this in somewhere. And then I also came across Robinhood. And that was actually my first beginning to kind of looking at everything was that trade-free commission application there.
Yeah, so just to clarify for listeners, Robinhood, he's not talking about the Disney movie or Kevin Costner. There's a broker out there that doesn't have any commissions. That could change. So depending on when you listen to this interview, that may be different. But Robinhood is in regards to a broker. So I want to go back because I'm kind of fascinated. So you saw the E-Trade baby, and then you're like, okay, what is E-Trade? And then you thought, okay, they let you buy stocks. And so you're like, all right, so I'm going to put $500 in. And yeah, JetBlue, I'm not going to lie, man, that's totally random. Did you take a plane flight somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just Googling it. I was top stock picks, and I saw JetBlue for some reason.
All right. And, so the Google research led you to JetBlue. That makes a little more. And then this uranium company, was this a penny stock?
I think it was. I'm trying to remember the ticker symbol, but I can't remember it. But I think it wasn't trading out. It was probably 30 cents to $1 in between that range. So
okay. So was that another byproduct of the whole Google research, or did this?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right.
Probably some penny stock. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
And Ches, I'm curious on your thoughts on this, Ches, because I can totally relate to what Tim's saying. Isn't it amazing how Tim literally just signs up for an account? He Google his great research is Googling hot picks, which brings him to JetBlue. And then and his uranium company, and here he is running around telling all his friends about how great these things. I mean, seems
It's a
a little
psychology.
goofy.
Yeah,
it's like
it's best in helping reaffirm kind of your choices in life, and it goes for more than just stock picks too. I mean, you could buy a fancy car and then start talking about, even my dog's getting passionate about
I was
it.
going to say, your dog clearly agrees with you.
Like I bought a BMW and I bought it for the great German engineering. So like you're trying to convince somebody why you just bought this BMW. It's just amazing how it works.
And I was actually working for my mother's company at the time, and she owned a couple like AT&T franchise stores. So I bought an AT&T one share at $30. So it was literally commission $10 to buy it. So I was like, all right, well, this thing needs to move $20 for me to even make any sort of profit. And knowing AT&T, that thing doesn't move much. That's probably it's still around $30 right now.
Yeah, that's a mud stock if I've ever seen one.
So needless to say, I had no idea what I was doing back then.
But it's nothing. The one thing you did do well, so let's pat you on the back here, is I don't think it was intentional, but you did fantastic risk management via, you only put in $500. So even if like the worst case happened, and I'm not saying that $500 isn't a lot of money, but with past guests and people I've come across, $500 it could be much worse. So at least you were displaying some risk management skills early on in your trading. So all right, interesting. So you came across these picks just because of Google research, then you took a break, and then you get back into it about a year ago. So what really sparked your interest to want to get back into it? Because you made the comment, hey, that whole tax thing kind of scared me off. So. Yeah. But now you wanted to get back into it. So what kind of helped you get over that, hurdle of fear?
Yeah, I think it was just downloading or finding that Robinhood app, and I was like, you know what, I'll try this again. I'll see if I can learn a little bit more. So I got the app, and I put again $500 into it. I didn't want to put a lot in, like you said, kind of controlling the risk there, and again, I still didn't know. I was Googling, and then it just kind of brought me all over the place. Going from different YouTube videos to seeing different websites and what stocks to buy. And then, not to mention, I had a coworker who I was standing in lunch line with at work, and he was like, oh, yeah, I heard there's one stock, IBIO, it's really just going to go to the moon. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. So that was kind of like my first trade or whatever that I placed in Robinhood. And so when I did that, I followed it. I was on StockTwits, I was looking at IBIO, everyone on there saying it's going to the moon, wait for this press release, it's coming out in 2 weeks. And I was like, all right.
He's hopping on earnings calls. He's emailing the CEO. Yep, we've heard this before.
And then I was like, on StockTwits, people were actually emailing, and everyone was like, oh, they're going to say it's next week, and hold it. And other people on the other side saying it's not going to go anywhere, it's going to go down. And I was talking to my coworker. I'm like, man, this stock is not moving. He's like, just wait. So I was like, all right, I just wait. So then it dropped down in price a little bit, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's an excellent time to buy more shares.
Oh, great. Here we go. Now, let me cut you off right there. So where was your friend's research coming from? Was he also just on StockTwits, or did he have some sort of other, what he thought was great knowledge? Where was his perspective coming from, or did you not even consider to ask that?
I think I asked him after I bought into the
stock. That's a good time to ask. Hey, by the way, why do you feel good about this?
Yeah. So I think he got his research from Reddit. There's the channel, the Wall Street Bets. Yeah. So then I went on there to try to figure out everything, and so I really had no knowledge about the stock, or I didn't look at any technical analysis. I knew nothing, and it was 50 cents. I was like, why not? And it didn't move. It never moved.
But it started to move, right? It pulled back, and then you said your buddy told you, hey, buy the dip, right? So you bought the dip. Where did it go from there?
So I think I bought around, and it jumped up, 10 cents. And I must have had, I didn't put too many shares in there, so I wasn't making, I didn't have a lot, unrealized gains there. But I was like, this isn't moving. And he's like, just wait. I'm like, okay. So then it went down. I think I bought in around 50 something, went down to 40. I can't remember the specifics, but I was like, all right, I'm done. So I just got out of it. So, and then that time, there was a few other stocks that I did here and there that I lost $1, made $2. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't, putting all my eggs in one basket. But then at one point, I think I was down, I don't know, from IBIO and a few others down 120. I was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. So I took all my money out and realized, all right, I got to figure out, what I'm doing.
There's the moment I was looking for. It was the moment of clarity when you realize that you can't actually make a living doing this or make great profits just literally following somebody blindly. Everyone has to come to that moment, and obviously this was your moment there. But Clay, you do have to kind of tip your hat to Robinhood, because you can talk about, when Tim first started, he said he was, intimidated. Somebody's like, you got to pay taxes on this. Robinhood is good to kind of get people into the market. The unfortunate thing is, though, a lot of it's going to be money that has no idea where to go and is just going to do things like, make picks off of Reddit. So you got to hand it off to them for trying to appeal to the new generation, but generally it's to kind of their own demise, if they're doing it kind of unintelligently. So obviously you pull your money out now. Now what,
the one thing to note is, to piggyback off Chez's point, he came, he saw the light. He finally realized things. But it only cost you $120. Is that accurate? The amount you had lost was $120.
Yeah, about around there.
That's pretty good, Chez. Wouldn't you say that the coming to light moment was only $120 compared to some of these past guests?
Well, we've had people who lose $12,000 and then they still haven't come to light. So yes, I'd say 120 is pretty good.
$120, not $120,000.
Yeah, still $120.
Yeah.
So Tim says it gets better. So how does it get better, Tim? Let us hear about that.
So my coworker was like, yeah, so I was kind of doing calls and puts and calls when I traded back in the day. And I was like, oh, what are those? So
back in the day, meaning he doesn't trade anymore, which why don't you trade anymore would be, okay, this is not, okay.
So I was like, all right, so let me look at what call and puts are. So then it just opened up the floodgates, and then he was showing me something on his computer, how he had his old Options House account still open. He was like, yeah, so right now, it would probably be he did on his computer, quick little search. He's like, yeah, you want to buy Apple right now, this call, this expiration date. And I was like, whoa. I'm not going to put my money in for something I had no idea what you're talking about. So I said, thanks for the advice, but, I'm going to go and take a look at this a little bit further.
I'm fascinated. So correct me if I'm wrong, this person was no longer trading options?
Yeah, no, he took a step back. I think he was working on something else, and he wasn't in the market.
Working on something else.
Yeah, that's what we call. I blew up my account, so I'm working. Yeah, so well, good on you for being like, wait a second, buddy. You're telling me what was he doing on Google? Do you have any idea what he was looking at? How did he come to these determinations on what Apple option you should have bought?
I think it was Reddit again. That was the source of all knowledge.
Wow, that's. All right, that's bad. Well, again, good on you. Thank you for not saying. So then I went out and I took a loan and I bought, $10,000 worth of Apple. That would have been bad, but your instincts kicked in and you said, I'm not going to do that. So, where did you go from here? Your world has now been open to options. You haven't really pursued anything, but, where did your journey now take you?
So he actually gave me some pretty decent advice, because we were looking at, he pulled up a stock chart, and it was the first time I've really ever looked at one. And he was like, all right, so if you look at this, you can see there's a support level, there's resistance levels, and, it comes to a point where, the price can't get any higher, and then it's probably going to bounce back. And I was like, I've never seen this before. So that's when I started actually going in and doing a little bit more research. And I think during this time, I did open up an Options House account, and I put $2,000 in there. And yeah, I think around that same time is kind of when I found your videos and started looking at everything and joined the chat room and yeah.
Out of curiosity, what videos did you find of mine? Because there's quite a few of them out there. So I'm curious, was it the chart analysis videos, the live trades? Which ones?
It was the both of those. So it was a combination of those. So I think the technical analysis ones I was looking at, the live and then the live trading. But the way that, I've just never seen anything like that before, so that's why I got really curious and did a little bit more research from there.
Now, so obviously you've put this money in this Options House account. Now, I want to know what you initially did. Were you just kind of buying support, or were you just buying calls and puts? And I want to know actually how it went, because obviously $2,000 is a bit of a stretch from your old, $500. If you blow that up, it's not life ending. So this is obviously 4 times the size now. So how did this go?
So I had a general understanding of options just by videos that I saw.
That sounds terrible, man. I got to tell you, whenever I have a general understanding, if you go in, and I've used this analogy before, but it's perfect. If you go in for open heart surgery and your surgeon says, hey, I have a general understanding of how this stuff works, are you going to let him cut into you? That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Tim has a general understanding of options, and oh brother. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
This is
So
good.
I kind of just watched some videos, did research everything, and I still didn't have any clue what I was doing. So there was a couple times, I have a 9 to 5 job. I work during the day, so it's tough for me to just watch every ticker symbol. So and every movement. But I opened up Options House, and I kind of had an idea about options, but I never knew like which strike price and delta and theta, any of that stuff. So at 9:30, like when people start rolling around 9:30, 10, so I have some time around there. So I opened it up, and I think Facebook probably was my first options trade. And I don't know why, but I was just like, I went to Facebook all the time for some reason. And I made like, I don't know, $60, I think, my first trade. And then, I was like, sweet, made $60. Let me try another one. And my like entry point.
Let me cut you off because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like Chess said, what exactly? I mean, you found Facebook, but I mean, what was there any process, or was it literally just a dart throw and you just randomly chose a Facebook strike price? I mean, was it a call or was it a put? Like, how exactly did you make money? Let's kind of dive.
I honestly don't know.
Fair enough.
I waited for the market to open, and that was when all the movement was going. I thought it was going down a little bit, so I was like, I'll just buy here, and I'm hoping it's going to go back up. And I think I got lucky, and I sold right away because as soon as I saw that profit, I was like, lock that in. And yeah, I literally didn't pick it for any reason. I didn't look at like the daily. I didn't look at what the trend was doing. I just saw like put up my 5-minute chart and just went from there as soon as the market opened. So
and now, did you feel like this was easy street? You're a trader now, and you're just ready to start dishing them out?
I'm gonna have a Lamborghini, a helicopter, the whole 9 yards. So, I don't know. And then I think I was like, all right, so I could do this again. Let me do it again. And then I tried, made a second trade, and then it started going in the opposite direction. And I was like, well, maybe if I just hold on to it a little bit, then it will bounce back, and then I'll make a profit. And that was kind of my strategy for, the next couple trades that I made, is just hold it if it's not going in my direction and wait. And that doesn't
hold
work.
and hope is what your strategy was. Is that kind of a fair assessment? Hold and hope.
Pretty much. And then there were times it would work for me. I would be up like $200 and I would be like, sweet, this is working. And then not so much. But yeah, and then it wasn't until the point where, kind of moving forward, I was like, let me try another stock. Let me try something else besides Facebook. And I think GoPro was having an earnings release or something. And I think at this point in time, I was definitely down, I would say $400 in my account from the Facebook trades. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I can just gamble here and kind of guess the direction that the stock price is going to go once the earnings is released. So I went long on GoPro right before the market closed.
Actually, Tim, I got to cut you off because you just summarized what traders do, what separates everybody as traders. You use the word gamble and guess. First off, I have no problem with the word guess. As traders, that's all we do is guess. However, when we're guessing, we're trying to make educated guesses. We're trying to make guesses that are formed around probabilities, formed around things that we perceive to give us an advantage. So yes, at the end of the day, it is a guess. And anybody that tells you, hey, you're not guessing, they're lying. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. Because Ches, fill in the blank here. There are no what in the markets.
Guarantees.
There are no guarantees. So everybody's guessing. But the word Tim used, which just totally blows things totally apart, is he was going to gamble and then guess the price. I have zero problem with guessing. It's what's the word before guess? And if it's an educated guess, hey, that's fine. If it's a risk-controlled guess, hey, that's fine. But if it is a gamble guess, well, then that's just a flat-out gamble. I mean, Ches, anything? Am I missing anything here? Do you got anything to add? Because this is like a huge component here about why people either succeed or fail.
No, this is you nailed it on the head, because otherwise it is just a gamble and it is just a dart throw, and anyone can flip a coin and go long or short Apple. But if you had no reason behind it, if you just said, I have a feeling, okay, don't get me wrong, okay, I get it. There's intuition at some point later in your life. People who've been trading 20 years will say they have intuition, but guess what? They have that, and it's probably more so habit and just seeing things for the past 20 years than it is just, oh, they guessed and felt like it was going to go up. That just doesn't work in this. You got to have a strategy or you are really just gambling.
Well, Tim's strategy right now is gambling and guessing. So how'd this play out for you? Sorry to cut you off, Tim, but that was
no worries.
Unintended on your part, but a very beautiful learning point there for listeners out there of, just the big differences out there.
Yeah, so I think I was in the mindset. I was like, all right, well, my account's down $400 right now. I got to get it back up because I just want to get back to where I started from. So maybe I'll just, like I said, gamble and try to guess the direction of this earnings release and where the price is going to go. And I went long, and I was wrong. So it went down. I woke up the next day, market open. I was down $560. And yeah, I was like, oh, maybe if I could just still hold it a little bit, it's going to go up. And then I realized that just wasn't happening. So sold out of that. And that's when I took a little bit of a break.
Yeah, and the other thing was, actually, Ches, I'll let you touch on this since you're more of the options guru here, but he was also at the mercy of implied volatility. So technically speaking, even if he had guessed right, it still may not have turned out right for him, right?
So that's the beauty of people who try to trade earnings is, yes, they are completely at the mercy of implied volatility. I'll never forget after you had kind of put out your options courses and people started trading, but they didn't actually really pay full attention to what happens during earnings. And, that people are pricing in moves, and generally it falls within those price moves, I think like 80% of the time or something. So I'll never forget, Apple's at like $100, earnings come out, and it goes up $9. Everyone's like, woo, oh my God, I bought these $110 calls. They're going to be great. I bought them for so cheap. And guess what? $110 is still above where Apple is, and they got completely slaughtered. So not only were they right, and they were right big, they were right $9 big. The stock opened up $9 higher than where they bought that call. Absolutely demolished, went to zero. They lost all their money, and then people got really bitter. And then I'm just sitting here scratching my head saying, it's not like we didn't tell you guys how this works for earnings. So yeah, you're really at the mercy of that. And earnings plays, there's a couple ways to do it, but honestly, I will stick to this no matter what, even though I used to trade them. Earnings are a straight-up gamble. The street and the market makers and anybody in the world and analysts can price it wherever they think it's going to be. Sometimes things are worse than they expected them to be. Sometimes they're better than they expected to be, and these things can have outlandish moves. So in my opinion, trading earnings is always gambling, but like I said, that's just me. I know, Clay, sometimes you're able to kind of get in your quick scalps and stuff, but you can't do any of that after market.
I will just I used to do earnings trades too on options. Used to be in the keyword because my poor fellow co-host Ches here, I saw, and again, I'll publicly thank you, Ches, for your transparency in the chat room, but Ches had some brutal earnings things go against it. I'm like, holy crap. The odds of that happening, very, very slim. So I'm not going to say that it's that you can't make money trading earnings, because that's not the case. You can do it, but after I saw what can happen, I'm like, it's all about personal risk tolerance.
And to be fair, Gator and I had a great conversation in Pittsburgh about this. The year that I started trading advanced option was the year that everything was either a complete blowout or a complete miss. And, I'm not, like I said, I'm not justifying that. I still won't trade earnings because of that. But that whole year was just every outlandish move you could think of happened. And yeah, Clay, you got to see that pretty much front row.
Yeah, and the whole China meltdown. Anyways, we're reminiscing. Yeah, so anyways, Tim's still with us, right? So I see him on webcam. So I'm sorry, we go off. You can feel free to butt in and interrupt Ches and I if we start reminiscing or whatever. Be like, hey, jerks, this is all about me. So yeah, so sorry about that, but GoPro did not work out for you. So was it a total loss, or did you salvage anything from it?
Yeah, pretty much total loss. Yeah. And at that time, I had no understanding of, the amount of contracts I was buying. I would just do, 1 here, 3 here. There was nothing. I had no risk tolerance. I just kind of, all right, I'll do this. No justification behind it.
So it was pure randomness I think the fair way to put it. There was no system in place. And at the end of the day, it was like like Ches said, it was a dart throw. I mean, it was just, hey, let's see where things land, and I'm going to do that. Yeah. So you get wiped out. Safe to say, it sounds like GoPro smacked you across the face. I can relate. I also broke a strategy in regards to GoPro as far as investing goes, and yeah, that one kicked me in the face too. So GoPro, I don't know. Tim, we have a bond over GoPro. It didn't treat us very right. So where did you go from that point? Was that enough to, kind of knock your teeth out and be like, all right, totally need to reboot? Where exactly did you go from here?
Yeah, so I did kind of similar what I did with Robinhood. Is I took my money out. I think I had 1,200 left out of that 2,000 that I put right back in the bank account. And I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, I'm really interested in this. I love looking at stock charts. I think this whole market thing is wicked interesting, but it's just not working out for me right now. And I was like, well, I was looking online. I came across this guy, Clay Trader, and he's got this whole program, and it's a little pricey, but I feel like I need to kind of look at myself and realize how much I do know, and realize that I actually have a lot left to know, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. That was good.
So I was like, she's like, well, if you think it's going to be something that you're going to stick around, because I have this tendency where I pick up things and then I get really, really involved with them, and then I just drop them.
I'm the exact same way, Tim. And my fiance gives me the same warning. She's like, you're gonna have to actually stick with this if you're gonna invest into it. And I'm like, I'm putting out my hard money. I'm stuck with it now.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, for Ches, you see that paint and easel over there? Remember when you're going to be the next Pablo Picasso? And
that's Kelly's nice try, but that is funny.
So I was like, I said, yeah, I think, I've been doing this for a little bit, a couple months. I've looked at it, and I think, I really want to take a more invested approach and really learn and get educated and figure out what I want to do. So she said, go for it. So I did. And I think first I bought into the chat room, because I think I sent you a message on Twitter or something. I was like, $99 for the year, right? And you're like, yeah. So I was like, why the heck not? So I did it. And when I was in there, I think I have a similar situation to some of the past members where I had no idea what everyone was talking about in there. And I think I was like in the over one room, someone said, wolf on this at the 5 minute. I'm like, what the heck is a wolf? So I asked that in the lounge, and they were like, I thought I was going to get a sweet answer, like, yeah, wolf is this. And they were like, you have to go back. It's part of the training videos. So I'm like, yeah, it's kind of not very helpful, but I understand where you're coming from. And I think from there, I just went all in.
I'm trying to think. You didn't buy any courses, right? You didn't dip your toe in the water. You went just straight up, right?
Because you like saving money. Yes, because he's a smart man.
And he trusted me, so thank you.
Yeah,
that's why for all you listeners out there, because I've had it a couple of times where people are like, they buy a course and then they want that price deducted from the full price. I'm like, wait, no, you don't get to test the waters and then get the same discount as somebody else. You got to price in risk. I mean, the whole program is like an options market. You got to price in risk.
You also got to respect Tim for the fact that he didn't want to choke you out like previous other members that we've interviewed on podcasts. So there's other members who wanted to physically harm Clay, but Tim didn't. Tim was just kind of he trusted you, and he kind of knows what you're doing. So yeah, kudos to you, Tim.
So you sign up for Clay Trader University, and now you live in a mansion down by the sea, right? I mean, down by as long as it's not a van down by the river. That's what I'm concerned about.
So I got in, and I immediately just went to first robotic training right off the bat, going through those videos. And I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't get through all of it, but I definitely watched a good chunk of it in kind of the first half. And I'm still to this point where I know you don't like the phrase "I don't have enough time." But I think that was kind of the case. I had a lot of stuff going on at work, and I just kind of I wasn't fully involved in really spending enough time to kind of learn. But I went through, I kind of got the gist of it, which I know now is like, even today, I feel like I need to go back, rewatch it, because some of the stuff is definitely helpful for just overall trading.
Now I have to make a clarification here, because you're absolutely right. I don't have enough time. There is a little asterisk that goes by this, and it goes something like, I don't have enough time because a bunch of work stuff came up. I don't have any problem with that, because work is growing your account, right? Work is bringing in money. So, okay, that's fine. But it is, I don't have enough time because I was out at the bar late last night, so I couldn't wake up early because I was hungover.
I had this wicked hangover. Yeah, I can't do it.
And I can't do it tonight because Game of Thrones is on. So, I'm sorry, but I'm about to go. I will go into jerk mode on you because I have no compassion for you. There is a big difference between I don't have time because I'm doing things that are bringing money into, the financial picture. And then there's, the other situation I described. So yeah, I'll give you a hall pass there, Tim, because your time was being taken up by, you were getting a return on that investment. I'll put it that way. So, hall pass cleared. So you went through well, actually, you said you didn't get through it all. Have you now gotten through it all?
No, to this day, that's one thing.
Well, Tim, let's talk to me. What's going on here?
Yeah, so I think it was a lot because I took a step back. That GoPro thing, it really hurt. So I was like, all right, I got to stop putting this much money in. And I think to myself, it's like, these courses aren't going anywhere. The market's not going anywhere. I have plenty of time. And when I find a time that's going to be right for me, where I can fully, put forth the motivation and the effort to really learn this, it's going to be there. It's going to be tomorrow. It could be a couple weeks. It could be a couple months. So there was no real rush for me. And I always thought, like, if I don't put on a trade, then I made that money, if that makes sense too. So it's like, because where I was is like, I was losing money, and then I would make a little bit money, but I thought, like, if I don't do anything, then it's probably going to be a wash, which is even better than what I have been doing. So that's kind of where that was. And then at work, again, something else, I got promoted. I have a new team that I was, starting, and thank you. And I was taking a lot of time with that. So I was still like involved. Like, I have a couple tabs open at work where I keep the lounge up, the trading view. I look at some of the alerts in the room, and I just kind of go and glance, and I kind of get a feel of, what's happening. And, if someone mentions something, I actually like go back to the videos that you have and kind of like, all right, now I understand what they were saying. And around that time,
I'm curious. So you go back to the videos. Are you using the search function on the site to like look up different terms and stuff, or?
So I think it was like, like Bollinger Bands, for example. Someone said something about that. So I knew exactly where in robotic trading that was. I don't think I've utilized that, but that's a great point.
I wasn't sure if you meant like, I saw like a rubber band gram, and you're like, what the heck is a rubber band gram? So I don't know if you like would go back and then type in the search box, because I was just curious. I was like, hey, I don't think I've ever asked anybody their strategy, because that was interesting. So, but you just knew where, key things were in the courses. So, all right, that's cool.
And sometimes, like when I had time, at home, or if I was just lounging around, I would go back and I would look at the case studies that you had on there and the webinars, and I found those were very valuable, because it was more like, not to say that the other courses weren't real life examples, but it gave different like strategies or examples that I thought were pretty beneficial. So I was looking at that as well.
So where are you exactly, right now in your journey? Are you trading? Are you paper trading? Are you still super busy at work?
So
where do you stand right now at the time of this interview?
So right now, like I would say a couple weeks back, I put $100 in Thinkorswim, because it's hard to have the trading platform up on my computer, but I can just kind of click over to TradingView just to see the chart real quick, click back. So I'm making quick trades from my phone. So I put $100 in there, and that was it. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to buy one option and see if I can kind of guess where it's going to go. And I thought about paper trading, but I kind of wanted to put money on the line, because I tried paper trading a couple times on Options House, and I wasn't realistic. I didn't put the amount of the size or the position or anything that I would do in an actual trade. So I was like, if I put money on the line just a little bit, then it will give me a little bit more motivation to make sure that the trade I'm going in, as I feel confident about it, and I can kind of manage my risk that way. So I did that for a little bit. I would make, didn't do too bad. I would make $10 here, and I was actually pleased with it. $10 off of one trade for one option, and I would make sure I had my stop losses in there. I wouldn't get anything less than like $10 on a loss. And then I think recently I listened to Sean's podcast, and I like how she started with that 250 amount, so I thought I'd get back up to there. So I did that. I added a couple more in. It was going pretty well. I was maintaining around that area. I wasn't going green. I didn't go over. But it was still giving me the experience that I needed to figure out what was working, what wasn't working, with actual money on the line. And then not too long ago, last weekend or the weekend before, I was on vacation, and I felt the need to trade for some stupid reason. So not only that I was looking at my phone in a chart there to kind of place a trade, but it was on Amazon, which I've never traded before.
Oh no!
So I was
Vacations seem to do that to traders. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. You're not the only person who has that kind of feeling. But the Amazon thing, this is gonna be interesting. So
Yeah,
let's hear about that.
Oh, I wish you would have said like SPY or.
That's what I've been trading, looking at mostly SPY, Apple, Facebook. But I was like, I'll try Amazon. And I felt like I needed to do it because I was on vacation, I wasn't at work, and I had the whole time to kind of keep my eye on it. And it didn't go well. I bought a call, it went down, and I looked back later, and it was down a little bit, and I was like, I'll just hold it a little bit longer. Hopefully it'll rebound, bounce back up, and it didn't. I lost $100, so that account from 250 down to like 130 right now. It's just sitting. So I'm back to kind of where I was when I just had the 100 in there, placing one options trade and seeing where it takes me. But
I still want to point out some things though here, because obviously we've gone back to kind of the original time when Tim was originally managing his risk by having, a small account. So he's doing that again. He's heard the story of Sean, who took her account from 250 to, 5 figures at this point. But here's the important part. I want to stress though, while you may have done something bad, and that's a no-no, and you need to be disciplined for it, for taking that big loss and not, trading on your phone, which is number one, and then trading a stock you never trade, which is big with wide spreads, is number two. We're going to say that was a vacation brain fog, okay? So we'll be okay with that. But what you were doing before that was, you make $10 here, you lose $10, and the emphasis I want to, really make is that you're building good habits. The monetary amount isn't the most important part. If you're structuring good trades, managing your risk well, I don't. That $10 could soon be $100, and that $100 turns into $1,000, and the next thing you know, that $1,000 is $10,000. If you can do it right, no matter the size, it's scalable, and that's kind of the big thing to do. And people always, you just relapse. Okay, you held a trade, you had some hope, it's going to happen. But the important thing is that was a $100 loss instead of a $10,000 loss on your $50,000 IRA or something like that. So, I'm. What do you think, Clay?
Yeah, I definitely. I'm going to take a few shots. No, I'm just kidding. What stands out to me is you're building good habits, like Ches said, but then you just have that one. Ches says brain fog. I'm going to call it. You had a massive brain fart. So you have this massive brain fart, and isn't it amazing how all it takes is that one time where you veer off the path, where you break a couple rules, and all of a sudden you basically cut your account in half. And it's not because you made a whole ton of mistakes, not because you had a whole ton of bad habits. You actually had good habits, but it just takes one slip up. So for you listeners out there, if you're on a winning streak right now, if you feel like you got a good system in place, whether that's because of you taking my courses or not, that's besides the point. But if you feel like you're in a good place, and maybe you are, just remember, all it takes is one brain fart. All it takes is one little brain fog moment, and you can do real damage. So thank you for sharing that, Tim, because that's probably not the easiest thing to share, but it just amazes me still. And I lived through it. I got to always remind myself, all it takes is one thing, Clay. And in fact, actually, I think it's been about a year. I put out a blog post of last June where I was having a great month. And then I just tried to get cute. I went into like a brain fog. I had a brain fart.
You had a brain fart, a big fat brain fart.
And I ended up losing like $3,500 on one trade. I mean, I still had a green month, so I mean, that was good. But man, the month was coming together so beautifully. We'll link that blog article in the show notes. I think I entitled it "How I Ruined My Month," but it was, so it was bad. And so Tim's not alone. And going back to the amounts, if you're sitting there right now thinking, "What are you talking about? He makes $10, he loses $10." That's if you like, that's stupid. That's why you've been brainwashed, my friends. You've been watching too many certain videos of people out there where all they focus on is fancy cars and this and that because it's all about big gains. It's actually all about good habits, like Ches said. I mean, I think back to MR. The guy, he made $51,000 in a day, and within a few weeks ago, he was posting images. He's up like $16,000 a day, but that's not the point. Whether it's $10 or $10,000 in a day, to echo Ches, you got to be forming good habits because without good habits, it's only going to get you so far. But even with good habits, all it takes is one brain fart, and a lot of those good habits can be wiped away. So Tim sent us off on a big tangent again, but a very important one. So thank you for sharing that because it just takes one. It just takes one. So your account is now at $130 as we speak right now. Is that accurate, Tim?
Yep.
So what is your plan going forward? Are you going to keep trading it? Or are you going to try to, step back, or where are you going to go from here?
So I think when time permits, and I see something, I've been doing a lot of just like opening up charts and looking at the daily, looking at the hourly, 60-minute, 30, 50. If I see something that's going to be that kind of aligns with what I'm looking for, then yeah, I might place a quick trade. But I'm not going out and seeking it just to make sure that I can get my trade in for the day, and keeping it small. And I think right now where I'm at is I just want to get good at visualizing the chart, and knowing what movement I can expect it to go. And that's basically where I'm at right now.
So Tim, what indicators or moving averages, what does your actual chart look like?
So like I said, I just have the one tab for trading view up there, and I have the daily, the 60-minute, the 30, 15, and 5. And on there I have obviously the candlesticks, the volume. I'm looking at the 200 SMA, the 50, and the 9. And I keep those up there, and I have Bollinger Bands on there as well. But I keep it simple. I'm more so looking at support and resistances and seeing if I can find certain patterns, whether maybe it's an ascending triangle or a wedge, and just kind of looking to see if it can make those breakouts through those support and resistance lines. That's pretty much it. I don't have too many other things in there, probably because I still need to take the rest of the courses in an RT. But yeah, that seems to be working for me right now to an extent.
Excellent, excellent. So you're keeping it simple, stupid, right? Using a little bit of the KISS method here.
Exactly.
So it's been a while since we've asked this, but I definitely want to ask you, and it's the question about losses. So when you first got started, it sounded like you had really no thought on losses other than I'm going to hold and hope. But how do you view losses now? How do you approach a loss? How do you deal with a loss now compared to when you were first getting started?
Well, now that I have a smaller account size and I don't let them go too crazy, out of control, except for that GoPro and Amazon, it doesn't faze me much. Like today, I think I lost like $4 on SPY. And, I knew I put in the trade and I set my stop loss and I go, all right, well, I'm just going to wait. And if it hits this, then I'm done. Before, I was adjusting it. I was like, maybe it'll bounce here. Let me just move it down a little bit. Yeah. So they don't hurt me as much as they used to. Because I'm minimizing my risk and I don't let it spiral out of control, except for, like I said, Amazon and GoPro.
Right, the brain fart, which we beat you over the head with. But what I like about you is you're controlling risk in two forms. One, you're using stop losses, and I'm assuming using stop losses at logical locations because we won't go off on that tangent. But a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I use stop losses, and then they tell me where their stop loss is, and it makes no sense. So yeah, props to them. You're using a stop loss, you're controlling risk, but it really doesn't make any sense. But you're using stop losses, and like you said, you can deal with it mentally because it's not like it's going to kill you. It's not like, oh, great, that's like a $200 loss. You reduced your position size and your account size, so that in and of itself is a risk control feature, which a lot of people, you say risk management to someone, and they're like, freak out, like, oh, this is the most difficult ever. The easiest way to manage risk is drop your share size, drop your contract size by like a half, by 3/4, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm only down $5. I can deal with that. Now, you're not going to make as much, but you got to find that middle ground about, what you can psychologically deal with. So, but Ches is actually a nice guy. He's feeling in a good mood. So he has a question for you here.
I do, but I want to touch on something else.
Please do, sir.
That comfort zone, like you said, he's totally comfortable. I lost $4. That's fine. And like I said, just like, scaling good habits and profits, you can scale kind of your tolerance for things. Hooch is a great example, and I know we bring him up a lot. Hooch was trading options, and he's trading 2 or 3 contracts, and now, he's comfortably trading 10, 15 contracts. But here's the thing. Hooch didn't do that overnight. He had to kind of develop a tolerance and, really have confidence in himself that he wouldn't brain fart away his account because, this is what he does for a living. So that amount of risk, and, just like Clay said, if you're, saying, oh, he only makes $10 a day, like, psh, that's nothing. Keep in mind, his $10 on a $250 account is a 4% return. Okay, that's on his entire equity. and he might only be risking, on $10 if he's only buying a $100 call. That's still a 10% return. So stop getting hung up on the freaking numbers, because it's all about percent. And like I said, all that stuff can scale, and it always drives me nuts when people say, like, oh, that's piddly, like that's nothing. So sorry, going on a tangent. But anyways, the question that I'm supposed to ask you.
Well, you want to ask because you're in a good mood, right? And you want to lend it to him, not because you're supposed to lend it to him. You want to.
I was wondering who was going to ask this question.
Yeah, well.
What is your favorite type of donut?
Butternut. I like butternut.
Now, if you want to use this time machine that I do own to go back, so you never have to hear that question from Clay, you can.
That was like an accent, Well, he was getting a little. I know what question's coming, so I try to throw him off balance, but he countered back very quickly. So
yeah, that was pretty good. So if you could use this time machine to go back, probably to, I don't know, the beginning of your Robinhood trading days, or just whatever you feel your trading journey began, what was one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I would just tell myself not to listen to my coworker and put money on the line before I actually did my own research and got educated myself. I wouldn't have put, I would say don't put that money in Options House. Put that money somewhere else where you can actually learn what you're going to do when you eventually put that money in Options House. Long story, get educated before doing anything and making any trades, and not play earnings gambles, I guess.
Yeah, don't gamble and guess. Educated guesses, cool. Gambling guesses, not so much. Well, Tim, we're gonna move into. We really got to figure out a better. Ches, we need a cool segment title for these questions. Our fun questions. I guess that's as original as we're gonna get. So, Tim, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, I was thinking about this one for quite some time because I knew you were gonna ask it, and I would say I don't have one specific movie, but I'm a big superhero fan. So I love all the Marvel films, X-Men, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't even know if that's Marvel or not, but all of those ones. I would say just that whole genre, I guess.
Well, if you want to get into the business of things, technically speaking, X-Men is owned by Fox, so they're not really Marvel. But Guardians of the Galaxy is owned by Disney, who owns Marvel Studios, so we might have to cut that out because I just wanted to...
Stop pumping your positions, bud.
Yeah, that's true.
Superhero movies.
True. Yeah, I do. I should say that. I am long Disney in my retirement portfolio. I own nothing of Fox. So that's a good point. I could end up in jail for pumping my stock positions.
Yeah, and now everyone, all the tinfoil hats are going to come out and say, he's shorting Fox. Oh, my God, watch out. But anyways, what would you say is your favorite meal and dessert?
Chicken parm is, I'm Italian, so I love a good chicken parm. And whether I go to any Italian restaurant, I feel like it's the only thing that I get there. And for dessert, big fan of creme brulee, actually.
You know what just dawned on me? You can tell he's truly confident in that answer because he doesn't even say Parmesan, man. He just shortens that chicken parm. Just no need to say the whole word, man. I'm good. I'm cool. So yeah, I just need a hamburger.
We're on a first name basis, me and chicken parm.
Yeah. Let's see. What do you like to do for fun outside of the markets? I mean, you made the comment that you really love this stuff, which is a really good point. But we're short on time, and I'll just leave it. If you're not in the market because you love this stuff, then you got to move along. If you're in this because you want to make the money, it's never going to work out. So I'll just leave it at that. You got to have a passion for it. And you made that comment earlier. I wanted to talk about it. But besides the market, which, like I said, you do love, what else do you like to do?
I like going out to eat. I just like trying new places. And I also just like traveling within the States, actually. Me and my fiance, her sister's been moving around all over for her husband's job. So we go visit them. I was just in Colorado. We were just in New Orleans, so I just like visiting new places around.
Very cool. And if those of you who are not familiar, I actually did a cross-country trip myself, and it's amazing to me when people go like, oh, I really want to travel, and they name these places that are thousands and thousands of miles away, and I'm like, there's really a lot of stuff to do that you could do within even driving distance if you really kind of look into it. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff around this country, that's for sure. But what are 3 words you believe should be associated with successful trading?
Patience. I know that one gets brought up a lot, but I'm a very impatient person, and that is one thing that you need to have. It's huge. I would say confidence would be the other one, because if you don't have confidence, when you're going into a trade, then it's probably not going to work out in your favor, or you should probably just not take the trade. And then I was trying to think of this one, but not to have a big ego. I don't know if there's a one word that explains that, but
humility, maybe.
Yeah, if you're losing a trade and it's not going in your way, don't do what I do and wait for it to bounce. Just get out, cut your losses, and find a different entry point. So just don't think, oh yeah, no, I'm right about this one. Just admit that you're wrong, take the losses, and move on to the next.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I mean, in at its core, if you're sitting there saying, "I'll wait for it to bounce," you're really saying, "I'll wait to be right," because I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. So if I can wait till it bounces, then I can say I made a profitable trade. Therefore, I was right. Therefore, my ego is protected because, hey, I was right. So that's essentially that. So yeah, that's absolutely a good point there, because everybody is going to suffer from that, just because nobody wants to admit they're wrong. But hey, everybody's going to be wrong in the market. Well, Tim, I appreciate it. We're actually doing this at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you took I'm assuming you just got home from work. Yep. And you decide to now hang out with us. So, a little more context there for our listeners out there. We really do have great guests that are willing to work with us and just do some kind of crazy times. Because, working 9 to 5 and then having to come talk to, Ches is not the bozo, but my bozo self. Thank you very much, sir.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And I have a feeling we're definitely going to have you back at some point in time just to hear how things have been going. So for you listeners out there, a final few requests. If you're listening to this on the website, then click that share button, leave us a comment. We really appreciate that, and we do read them. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, by all means, please leave us a rating, subscribe so you can keep up to date on all future episodes. And then for you YouTube listeners out there, which seems to be continuing to increase, check out the channel as a whole. Subscribe. There's lots of videos on there, live trading, chart analysis videos, quick tip videos, lots of good stuff. So check out the channel. And like I said, if you like what you see and want to keep up to date on future podcasts, then definitely subscribe to that also. So again, thank you to Tim. Thank you to all you listeners. We will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.